everyone, Kendall here with Lousy Llama Creations. Today we're going to be crocheting a seagull. For this project, you're going to need medium weight for yarn in white, yellow, and gray, as well as 10mm safety eyes, stitch marker, tapestry needle, stuffing, and a 5mm crochet hook and scissors. This is a beginner-friendly pattern, so I'm going to walk you through everything, but in the beginning of the video, I am using clips from other videos and I'm putting them together. I'm going to start with showing you the magic ring on a bee, and then I'm going to talk about the parrot, which is the exact same body size. And then when I made the parrot video, I actually used the cardinal video and I added pop-ups for adding more rows. Just follow along, everything is on the screen. If that is confusing to you, I also have the digital pattern, which is available with the crochet kits. Crochet kits come with all the supplies you need in all the right colors, and you just have to follow along with the PDF and the video tutorial all in one. Let's jump into the video. So we're going to start with our yellow yarn, and we're going to start by making a magic ring or a magic circle. It's the same thing. I'm going to take my crochet hook. I have my yarn. This is our tail, our dead end, the end of your yarn. This is the yarn that's attached to the ball or the skein. You're going to take it and wrap it around your hand to form an X. You're going to hold it in the middle. Hook goes under, then over, and we're going to scoop this underneath. Just like that. We're going to twist it up and pull it off our hands. And then do this thing called a chain, which is when we pull our yarn through our loop. So I'm going to put the yarn on the crochet hook and pull through. And that's our magic ring. But let me show you again. I have my tail, wrap around to make an X, hold in the middle, under, over, pull through, twist up, and then do our chain. We're then going to make 6 single crochets in this loop. Our single crochets are one of the smallest, most basic stitches of crochet. You'll find it in tons of the stuffed animal or amigurumi patterns. Crocheters love single crochets. To do one, you're going to insert your hook in the middle of the loop, yarn over, which is when we place the yarn on top of the hook, pull through. So we have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over again, and then pull through both loops. And that's 1 single crochet. So again, I'm going to go through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that's a second. Through the middle, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through both. That was stitch 3. So I'm going to do 4, 5, and 6. Each stitch is this little V, a little oval. Can't see it too well on the sides. If I pull it apart a little bit, you can see that's a stitch. I'm going to take my tail and pull it so that it actually forms this cute little ring. And now we have the start of our crochet piece. These are our stitch markers, which are like little clothespin, safety pin looking things. Safety pins, not clothespins. Looking things. We're going to attach it into the last stitch that we made, that V. Close it up. this is going to help us find the beginning and the end when we're working in our rounds. Because we're going to be working in a spiral, so we're just going to keep on going around and around and around. So this will make sure we know the beginning and the end of each round. Our magic ring with the 6 single crochets, that was 1 round. So now we're going on to round 2, which according to our pattern says increase 6 times. An increase is just 2 single crochets next to each other. So we have 6 stitches. At the end of round 2, we should have 12. So we're going to put 2 stitches in each of the 6, so that we have 12. So we're just doubling it. I'm going to insert my hook into the first stitch that we made. The first one's always a little tight. It's not you, it's the crochet piece. Just kind of wiggle, stick it in. I'm going to yarn over and pull through. Yarn over, pull through again. So I have 1 single crochet. Before we move on, I'm going to stick my crochet hook in the same stitch and do another single crochet. So now we have 2 in 1 stitch. I like to picture it like a little flower, so we have like a small beginning, but then we want even petals on the side, so it kind of gets bigger evenly. I'm going to move to the next stitch. Again, I'm working in a spiral, so I'm literally just scooting over and do another increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then in the same hole, doing a second. And then I'll do that again. And again. Moving over. I'm in my last one, and this is my cat Cashew. He likes to help with videos sometimes. I'm sure his sister Peanut's gonna help too. I'm gonna take out my stitch marker. I'm gonna do our increase. And then I'm gonna put the stitch marker back in to the new end of the round. So we're kind of moving it up each time. And now we have this small little circle, which is round 1 and round 2. You should have 12 single crochets at the end of this round. And you can count them by looking at those V's. Grab my tapestry needle. So like that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can do this all the way around, so you have 12. The next round, round 3, it says we're going to do a single crochet and then an increase. And there's a comma in that bracket, which is important. So in the next stitch, we're going to do 1 single crochet. And then we're done with that. In the next stitch, that comma means we're moving over. We're going to be doing an increase, which is again, those 2 single crochets. So this repetition for the round is a little series of 3. 1, and then an increase. Or in my head, sometimes I'll say double. So 1, and then a double. And we're gonna repeat this. So the next stitch, we're gonna do 1, and then the next stitch, a double or an increase. And we're gonna do this for the whole round. So 1, and then a double. One, then a double. And I know I'm crocheting fast. Hey, I've done it since I was 14 years old. Don't forget, 1, pause this video. I will still be here for you. As well as that in the corner, the little gears button, you can change the speed. So yeah, I'll sound a little funny, but you can watch me slow down these stitches and it might be a little easier. You can see at the end I removed my stitch marker, did my last increase, and then I'm going to put it back. And our circle's getting a little rounder, a little bigger. You can tell it kind of curls up a little bit. That's okay. That's normal. No biggie. If it's curling up a lot, you might have messed up the pattern a little bit. You might have put too many increases. So you might want to take it out and kind of make sure you're counting. At the end of this row, you should have 18. Another thing to remember, this is our tail from that very beginning magic ring. This is the inside. So if you're looking at it and you're like, mine's kind of ugly, my stitches aren't clean, this tail's in the way, what am I doing? Boop, just turn it around. If you followed my tutorial for my crochet plants, a lot of people will show me their crocheted pot and they'll be like, hey, mine's ugly and it doesn't sit weird and it sits super weird and it's off. And then I'm like, flip it inside out. Boom. They did amazing work and they did it right. You just gotta flip it around. Next round, you're gonna start seeing a pattern here. It says 2 single crochets and then an increase. So single crochet 2 is different than an increase. So we're gonna do 1, 1, and then an increase. In newer crochet patterns, as in the past 10 years, you'll notice the word increase. Sometimes people use 2 single crochets instead. I find that confusing. If you follow any Lousy Llama crochet patterns, I will always say increase versus single crochet 2. If I'm saying single crochet 2, I mean 1 and then 1 and then an increase. Well, let's not get confusing here. So we're going to do 1, 1, and then an increase. One, 1, and then an increase. And we'll do this for the whole round. One, increase. One, increase. 1, 1, take out the marker, increase. And then put it back in. And now we have a bigger circle. Again, you can see mine curving a little bit. That's okay. Okay, I'm at the end of the round. And now instead of doing more increases, we're going to do rounds of single crochets. So a little tip, instead of putting this through the stitch like we normally do, I'm actually going to put it on the side of the stitch. That way we don't have to move it every single round. This works when we're doing 1 single crochet in every stitch. Not so much when you're doing something precise like 2 single crochets and then an increase, because you want that to be really exact. But for this, it's okay if it's not. So we're not going to do any increases. We're just going to do 5 rounds of single crochet. So you're literally just going to do 1 single crochet in every single stitch. We'll do this for 5 rounds, but I'll show you when we get around to the stitch marker how we're kind of ignoring it and continuing on. This also works because we're crocheting in a spiral instead of joining for each round. We just continuously keep on working. All right, coming around, I'm not going to move my stitch marker. I'm just continuing to crochet. See? And now I can see I did 1. So I'm going to go around 5 times and it sort of lines up with the stitch marker. So go ahead and single crochet for 5 rounds. Okay, this was 5 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See, I kind of lined it up with the stitch marker. Now I'm going to take this out and put it back in our stitch because our next round is going to be more precise like we did earlier. The next round is going to be 3 single crochets and then an increase. So similar to the 2 single crochets and then an increase, but with 3. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, and then an increase. And we'll repeat that for a total of 6 times all the way around. 1, 2, 3, increase. 2, 3, increase. I also want to take a note here, if my piece looks bigger than yours, I'm using some spare yarn I have, which I believe is a little different than the yarn you have in your kits. This yarn is feeling very stiff today. I'm not exactly sure why. But if you're like, mine's coming out smaller, don't worry, that's completely normal. This is just really stiff today. Okay, coming around the end, taking out our marker, doing the last increase. Yeah, it looks so big. My sample was not this big. Now I'm going to put my stitch marker on the side again because we're going to be doing more rounds of single crochet if I can get it. We are going to do 6 rounds of single crochets. So just 1 single crochet in every stitch for a total of 6 rounds. Now you can see our piece is starting to actually look like a bird, or at least a blob, which I think birds look like. We're going to repeat the same thing like backwards. So our last round of increases was 3 single crochets increase. Now we're going to do 3 single crochets decrease. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and then a decrease. For a decrease, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, kind of like the beginning of a single crochet. Instead of finishing it off, I'm going to insert my hook into the stitch next to it. Yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Because you're combining 2 stitches, you'll want to make sure you pull a little extra tight when you're making it, just because you're literally pulling your crochet piece closer together. And if they're loose, you'll see the stuffing. So I'll do my 3 single crochets again. 1, 2, 3, and then decrease, insert, yarn over, pull through, insert into the next stitch, yarn over, pull through, so you have 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And you're going to repeat this for the round. So 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, decrease, 1, 2, 3, and then our very last decrease for the round. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets and then a decrease. So 1, 2, decrease, all the way around, pulling nice and tight. 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, 1, 2, decrease, and 1, 2, taking out our marker, decrease. Next round is probably what you would have guessed, 1 single crochet and then a decrease. I know it's getting tight, it's getting stiff, but you are physically pulling your piece together, so hang in there, it's okay. This takes a little bit getting used to. 1 single crochet and then a decrease. Decreases was something that took me a little bit to master as a beginner. They used to be really loose, so you can like see all my stuffing. It takes a lot to like remember to tighten your tension and do things a little differently. That's okay. One of the cool parts about this project is that the decreases are on the bottom. So if your top is pretty, no one's really gonna see the bottom, especially if you have it displayed on like a little shelf or something, or on your desk. No one really sees it. Okay. 1 more decrease. Okay, we're gonna pause here for a sec and we're actually gonna stuff our little bird. I have my pouch of stuffing. We're not gonna need all of this. The best stuffing technique is to pull apart into small clumps and place it individually. That way you kind of have control over the shape. And it also uses less stuffing. If you just ball the whole thing up, you'll use all the stuffing, but you actually don't really need it, especially if you want it to remain nice and fluffy. So I'm just gonna keep on pulling small clumps. Obviously placing at the head first, because that's further away. And then the body. I want my bird blitz to be as round as possible. So I'm going to stuff him extra on the sides. I'm also, you can tell when I'm stuffing, I kind of pull my working yarn away. If you stuff it inside, that's fine. You'll just have to pull it out and that might pull out some of the stuffing. So it's just kind of easier if you pull it around before. Okay, he's getting there. It's looking like a little pill or it looks like a peep, really, is what it looks like. But we don't got peeps here. He is Blitz the bird, so he's gonna have to look like a bird. I'm shaping him, kind of forming his neck a little bit more. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Cute. Yeah, see, this is all the extra stuffing. You'll have extra stuffing. On the bottom, we need to do 6 decreases. The bottom is difficult. The last round of decreases is usually difficult. It's hard to see and you might skip some stitches, and that's okay. We're just gonna try to get 6 decreases. If you don't, that is a-okay. And you'll just close it up a different way. So I'm gonna do 1. I kind of pinch mine, even though we worked so hard on the shaping. We'll fix it at the end, because it's easier for me to get my hook into my stitches. So my second decrease out of 6. 3. Oh yeah, it's tight. 4. 5. Oh, I think that's all I got right now. I don't think I can fit the 6th one because of how tight it is, and that's okay. The hole's still pretty small. I'm gonna fasten off, so cut that nice long tail, pull our loop through, and we're gonna sew up the bottom. So if your bottom's a little gappy, it has some spaces in it, no big deal. You could fix it now. Put my tail on my needle, and you can close the bottom however you want. I like doing it the cinch closure way, which means I'm gonna go in all the stitches on the outside and pull tight. Just like that, and pull. I'm going to add a knot just so it doesn't come undone. Slide my knot all the way to the end. Boom. Now we don't just want to cut our yarn because it can come undone. We're going to do this thing called hiding our tails. With a 3D object like Blitz, it's super easy. My tail's on my tapestry needle. I'm going to poke right through where our tail is. Make sure a couple inches through and poke out anywhere else. Don't pull too tight, you'll change the shape. And then you can cut this off. So now for it to come undone, it's going to have to come out multiple inches and through the knot and through the fastening off, and that's more unlikely. Beak, I'm going to make it in yellow, and I'm going to start the exact same way that I started the body of the seagull. We'll start with that magic ring and 6 single crochets. If you need to go back and watch the video, go ahead and pause it here, pop to the beginning, and do that first round. With the magic ring, the chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. I kind of messed up because I grabbed the wrong string, no biggie. Do my chain 1, and then 6 single crochets. 4, 5, and 6. And close it up. For the next round, we're going to single crochet 6. So we're not going to add any increases, we're just going to place 1 single crochet in every stitch. Because this is so small, I'm going to count in my head instead of using a stitch marker. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next round, we're going to increase 6. Remember that increase is just 2 single crochets in each stitch. So again, it's kind of like we're making the body, but we're adding rows of single crochet in between. So we're going to do our increases. Again, it's so small, I'm going to keep track in my head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. For the next 2 rounds, we're going to do 2 rounds of single crochet. You can use a stitch marker or you can count in your head. I just find it easier just because this thing is so small and I'm only doing 1, just to count in my head. Because I'm doing 2 rounds of 12 single crochet, I can also just count to 24, placing 1 single crochet in every stitch. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now I'm going to do that next round. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. This is as big as our nose is going to get. To make it a little rounder, I'm going to add 1 slip stitch to the next stitch. To do that, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through again. And that's a slip stitch. I'm now going to cut a nice long tail and fasten off. I'm going to take that middle tail and I'm going to stuff it inside just so it stays out of the way, but it also acts as a little bit of stuffing for our nose. And there we have our beak. To make the wings, my gray yarn is it's extra from a different project, so it's gonna look a little different if you're following from a kit. My gray is a little lighter. We're gonna start the exact same way we did the body. Do that magic ring, chain 1, 6 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The next round is going to be 6 increases. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'm then going to add my stitch marker because we're going a little bigger than 12. I usually use a stitch marker if it's above 12 stitches. Anything below, I just keep track in my head. Next round, just like the body, it's going to be 1 single crochet and then an increase all the way around. One double, 1 double, 1 double, 1 double. I will do it one more time. 1, taking out my marker, adding that increase. The next round is going to be 2 single crochets, 1 increase. Again, it's just like the body. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. 1, 2, increase. Last one. 1, 2, increase. Now for the tail, this is it. We're going to add 1 slip stitch, which is when we put our hook in, yarn over, pull through, pull through. You can add a second if you want it to be even rounder. And that's our tail. You'll cut it off and I'll show you how to do the tails. But for the 2 wings, we're going to go 1 more round. We're going to do 3 single crochets and an increase. So 1, 2, 3, increase. 1, 2, 3, increase. All the way around, which I know y'all are used to. 3. Hook came out, that's okay. Everything in crochet is fixable. 1, 2, 3, I was on my increase. Okay, last increase. I'm going to do 2 slip stitches. Leave a nice long tail and fasten off. Now this tail we're going to use for sewing, but this guy on the back we need to weave in. And it's a little bit more difficult when it's a flat object versus like the 3D body where there's lots of room to hide it. I'm going to put this tail on my tapestry needle. And our goal is that we want to go in 3 different directions on the back side, pushing this in between the stitches, almost in between the fibers of the yarn. So I'm literally just going to, sometimes I pinch it between my fingers or I do it on a flat surface. But I'm going to push the tail through in one direction, choose another direction, do the same thing. Doesn't have to be backwards or anything, it could just be whatever you want, just a turn in it. This one was a little tighter. I gotta pull a little much. There we go. And then one more in a different direction. Then I can cut it off. Now for our piece to come undone, it's gonna have to go this way, this way, and through the knot at the end and fastening off and all the way through. Now it's just more unlikely. To assemble our bird, I have my little body here. I still need to make a second wing and the tail, but you're going to attach them the exact same way. I'm going to do something called a whip stitch. I'm going to hold my wings on the side of the bird, and I'm going to stitch onto the body, onto the wing, onto the body, onto the wing. Pulling nice and tight, but I'm going around from the body to the wing. And you can sew it as far along as you want or as little as you want. It kind of depends on the movement. This is part of my bird series, so I've kind of been sewing on the wings a little different depending on the bird. Do a few more here. This is my original sample. You can see I kind of just went along the top and a little bit in the back. Seagulls have big wings, so that's why these wings are a little bigger than the other birds. If you want to add it on the other side, I'm going to sneak across through the body, come back out, and do a few more on this side. Yeah, and I like that. And then to hide the tail, we're just going to push it through somewhere else in the body. And trim. If it shows through, you can poke it through with your scissors, kind of rub it or pinch it. You're going to do the same thing with the other tail, or the other wing, and then the tail on the back in between the 2 wings. The beak's going to be a little different. Doesn't have to be, you can sew it on the same way, but for beaks I like to do it a little differently. For the wings, I like having motion, and this whip stitch kind of makes it so, like, I usually do it for arms and legs, so they kind of give some movement in the joint. This I want it to be flat, and I don't like my stitches showing on the beak. I'm going to hold my beak where I want it. I usually put the tail on the bottom. And I'm going to stitch onto the body, through the outside stitches of the beak. That's just my first one. Normally what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the stitches of the beak to the body, and then back up to that same stitch on the nose. So again, on a stitch to the body, and then back up through that same stitch. As you can see, it makes it a little cleaner. If you hear that noise in the back, my washer is deciding to go a little crazy. Believe it or not, it's not the cats for once. I usually go through both loops on the stitch, but technically you can just go through one if you want. I just think it makes it look a little cleaner if I go through both. But you'll do this all the way around. Okay, almost there. Do my last one and then poke out somewhere in the body, preferably in the back, just in case our tail does show a little bit. Boom, now he's starting to look like a seagull. To embroider his little feet, I'm going to cut a piece of yellow yarn that's pretty big, put it on my tapestry needle, and then starting from the bottom or the back, I'm going to poke through the start of his feet. I've been lining it up on the side of the beak, just because I like them being even, but you can put them wherever you want. Seagulls have really long legs, so I'm going to go up a few stitches. I'm then going to do the toes on the side. When I embroider things, I kind of like to think of me drawing it on. So I'm drawing on these lines because I want one a little higher too, like that, but it's too thin. So I'm going to go over it a few times to make sure my seagull has nice, strong legs. For different birds, I've been doing different thicknesses. So like my cardinal has kind of dainty legs. It's not very thick. But seagull, those things are tough. They gotta get all the fish from the ocean. Boom. Then you'll embroider the second leg, and when you're finished, poke out through the bottom. I usually try to make sure that my leg starts on the bottom, so when he's flat, you can even go a little bit more underneath if you want. Like this one, I went more underneath. And then trim. And then you'll just shove those tails into the body. And that's how you make the seagull. Before I finish off this video, I forgot to add his little tufts of hair. I don't have white on my desk right now, so I'm gonna show you how to do it in yellow, but it looks a little better in white. I'm gonna cut a strand, put it on my tapestry needle, and I'm going to poke it through on his head and then tie a knot. For the seagull, because I thought he would just have more hair on his head, I did it, I believe, 3 times. So I'm going to take another strand and put it right next to it. Try to get the knot as close to the base as I can. I'm going to cut one more strand. These are much longer than I need them to be, but I think it's a little easier to work with when they're nice and long. Do a third. Put it right at the base of the head. Pull nice and tight. Now we're going to do the first trim, which is not the final trim. And then I'm going to shove these knots into his noggin. I know it looks terrible. I'm like squeezing his little body and pushing it in, but I don't like seeing the knots. Just like that. And then you will separate the strands different ways to do that. I use a tapestry needle most of the time, and I literally go through each strand and I separate it. I also sometimes use my scissors. I'll usually do it with my hands or my leg or like my shirt or something on the back side, just so I can kind of like poke it through without having to scratch anything up. You can also push the knots in after you do this part if when you find you're separating the strands that your knots are coming back up. I need to go back through and do it a little bit more. I want to put that last knot in, and then you trim it however you want. I've been doing some in kind of a triangle shape, some I've been doing a straight line. Him, I've been doing a little crazy, a little different layering. But that's how you add the little hair on top. I can't believe I almost forgot the best part. Thank you so much for joining me today as we made this adorable little seagull. I hope you named them something very cute. Mine is named Gulliver. If you want to stay up to date on all things Lousy Llama, go ahead and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Lousy Llama Creations. Stay up to date on new kits and patterns and designs and everything in between. If you liked this video, go ahead and give it a like and a subscribe so I can continue to make more videos of all the different creatures and crochet things coming soon. Thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Kendall and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!